I'm going to call the Planning and Economic Development Committee to order, and the first item of business is a roll call, please.
Mrs. Root,
Here.
Mr. Barnes,
Present.
Mr. Curran,
Here.
Mr. Sear,
Here.
Mrs. Hanchett,
Here.
Mr. Healy,
Here.
Mr. Ricky,
Here.
Mrs. Ricketts-Wales, and Mr. Stockin. 7 present, 1 absent.
Okay, thank you. The first item is the approval of the minutes from February 16th, and I'll entertain a motion for their approval. So moved. Mrs. Hatchett makes the motion, and Phil Curran seconds it. Any further discussion on the minutes? If not, I'll ask for a vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Carried. So first up is Rita Sobeck Lynch, Employment and Training Director. Rita did send us her monthly report, and Rita, I'll let you just do some highlights or add anything to it that you would like to talk to us today.
Okay, we do have the January unemployment rates, and for Allegheny County, it was 4.6, so it was up a bit. Most of the people that were applying for benefits were seasonal workers. New York State was at 5.3%, and the U.S. was at 4.4%. And actually, in January, there were only 17 new unemployment insurance benefit applicants. So we're gearing up for our summer program now. We've been doing a lot of work with youth for the work experience program that runs year-round. So that's been pretty exciting. Then we talk a lot about the Great Resignation. I found an article this morning from Wallet Hub that I'd just like to share. It isn't specifically about Allegheny County or Western New York, but as a result, there are a lot of applicants that have new leverage now because so many people had been leaving the workforce. So there are sign-on bonuses and things like that and make it very appealing to be a new hire at an organization. So these are the big factors that fall into the place of why people are leaving their jobs and where they're going. The rate at which people quit their jobs is not the same across the whole country. So Wallet Hub took a look at the data to rank the 50 states and the District of Columbia based on how frequently people are leaving their places of unemployment. And the highest place of leaving your jobs, the Great Resignation, is Alaska. And their resignation last month was at 3.5%, and in the past 12 months, it was 3.98% overall. New York ranked 51. People are less likely to leave their jobs in New York State as in the other states in D.C. We were at a 1.8% resignation last month, and overall for the past 12 months, it was 1.87. So does that mean New York State employers are the best in the country? Maybe.
Does that
I'll let
mean
you
that
draw
they're-
your own conclusions.
Does that mean they're satisfied in their jobs or don't have the means to move?
I think it's a combination of both, but I think people that are highly satisfied are more likely to stay in a job. And the lower your satisfaction rate, the easier it is to leave a company. Availability, it's true.
Anyone have any questions for Rita?
I have one on this. Do you have the statistics on how many people have left New York in the past 2 years or so?
What I have are rates from 2019, and it's a lot of data, and it's only specifically for New York, and it's hard to drive down or drill down the data to get just Allegheny County or Western New York.
I'm not,
And I have it by all age groups. Is there any way you'd like me to narrow it down? I have it by different populations,
New York
age
State.
groups. New York State?
yep.
Okay, for all ages? It's
Yeah.
about 20 pages. I mean, I can make copies for you all to take a look at.
Totals would be good, just,
How about a synopsis?
a total.
Okay,
a
I'll just
total
do a
number.
one-page summary for next time,
Yeah,
but I was able to get most of the data.
That'd be great.
thank you.
Any other questions for Rita?
I recently had a short discussion with one of our state officials state elected officials recently about helping us to get a new manufacturer into the area, or some other large employer. And what his remarks to me was that he wasn't sure that we could get the employees to fill those jobs if we brought in a large employer. And I said, my retort to him was, "Well, you get us the employer. I'll get you the employees." And it's sort of, my estimation, has been the policy of the state of New York for the last 60 years has decimated the southern tier, especially our county. And I believe that's probably some of that's political in nature. But it certainly has hurt our county more than most. It's and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. People don't stay because they can't find a job, and they leave, and then you don't have the people, if you did find an employer, to come in and take their place. So I guess, what's your sense of that, Rita? I would like to know, do you think we could find the people, or do you think people would move here if we had an employer?
I think people would move here if we had an employer. I think housing is very important right now. There aren't a whole lot of houses on the market, not a lot of choices to choose from in one particular town, but throughout the county, and the commute isn't that large. I think it would be a challenge, but I think it would be something that we could really fill. There's a concern, like if retail comes into the old Kmart site, where will we find the people for that? And we would reach out to them, and it's an exciting new opportunity, and it's just really hard to say, but I would like to say we are up for the challenge.
I'd like to follow
Thank
up
you.
on that, and talking with existing businesses and being a business owner. I hear over and over that people cannot find people to fill jobs there, and if you drive around everywhere, you'll see hiring
Everywhere.
everywhere. So do we not have a labor pool here to fill? Are people not wanting these jobs for existing businesses? I know restaurants who are reducing the number of hours they're open because they can't find staff. So if you put a large employer in, are you telling me we can find for a large employee? Does it come down to salary?
I think I'd be hard pressed to guarantee that we could fill every open position they have, because right now we're having trouble filling everybody's open positions. So I think it would be a challenge, a difficult challenge, but I think we should at least try. I don't think we should make false promises to huge employers saying, "Oh, if you come, we'll give you 100 skilled employees." I mean, it's going to take us some time to do the actual recruitment. And I think we have to be very careful and very specific in how we plan to do the recruitment and working with the companies.
So I'm going to go back to, I think, housing. I think you brought that up. I know housing is a problem, and I think we're doing a study right now in planning, looking at the existing housing. We know people who are coming in even to work for U of R, they can't find the type of housing they want. So for us to get that labor pool, do we need to be concentrating on our housing stock here in the county?
I think that's a definite it's not a possibility, it's a reality.
One thing that we have always looked at in economic development is our colleges within the area and developing a work pool from that, or an employee pool. Do you think we still are viable in utilizing that to fill larger manufacturer businesses or companies coming in?
I would really like to refer that to Craig Clark,
Okay.
because he can speak to Alfred State College, and especially the Wellsville campus, how when they have recruitment fairs, like all of the employers that come on board with great packages for employees.
Yeah. I know that was part of what we worked on for the past several years, is that coordinating between both the colleges and that to help foster a large employee pool. So I was wondering if we're still working on those efforts, or do we need to tweak it in some way, or because I think it's many things. I think it's housing, I think it's pay, and lots of times some of the studies showing in pay is that we're not too far behind on where we're at in comparison, but do we need to step it up a game to bring them in? So there's obviously many facets to bringing employers and manufacturers and businesses in.
We have a lot to offer in other areas, because it used to be people were concerned about their work-life balance, and now it's the life-work balance. And I know some companies are looking at shortening their work week. Instead of working a 37.5, going to a 35-hour work week, and making changes like that wouldn't affect their salary, but would still remain the same. They would just work fewer hours. So I think some of our employers are really trying to be very competitive in recruiting and retaining employees.
One of the workshops I went to in Albany this week was the Great Resignation, And they kind of looked at different ways of pulling people in. And are we marketing our job descriptions in a right way and still matching up with what we need for civil service? I'm just talking about for the county itself, but people can work from anywhere. They don't necessarily always have to live here, and they're seeing that new trend. So I think it's important kind of to study that as we try to foster economic growth and how we fulfill those positions and maybe potential future positions. But it was a very interesting workshop.
Oh, I would like to talk to you about that to get more information.
Sure.
So
Thank
I
you.
know a friend of mine, she came here with her husband, and he's a physician at Jones, and she still works at her job for the state of Michigan, so she's working from home. We also met with the employees of Siemens and Olean last week, and so they're slowly winding down. And so we're seeing a lot of those employees that aren't necessarily looking for employment now, they're looking for training. So they've been working with us on that.
So is there another factor here in Allegheny County where our labor pool has just aged out? If you look at the demographics of our county, probably our biggest, largest demographic age are all at that retirement age. So do you think that maybe that's also a reason why that we're not being able to fill existing jobs because the existing pool are just aged out and have decided to retire?
Well, the first wave from Siemens in Wellsville, that's really what it was. It was a lot of people that were age 50 and over, and a lot of them just said, I think it's time, and their pension was good, and it was a good time for them to do that. And that's when they made their exit. But we're also seeing some of these people come back to us saying, you know what, I thought retirement was going to be fun, and it was for a bit, but I really want to go back to work. I'm not that old, I have a lot of skills, and I'm employable. And so we've been pretty lucky, and they've been employed by, a lot of them have gone to Alstom and Hornell. And that's a big change for people that worked at Dresser in Wellsville, because you're used to a maybe 20-minute commute at the most, and now they're driving 35 or 40 minutes. So, but other than that, if the job is challenging enough and fulfilling and financially worth it, why not work?
Okay. Any other questions for Rita?
Well, I guess that brings us back to one of the problems from probably here in New York State, especially, is that, and maybe in some of your poorer areas, is a lot of people choose not to work because they're on a public dole in one way, shape, or form, and it's just as good or better of a deal than it is to go to work. And I think that might be true with a lot of if we were bringing in blue collar jobs. The white collar jobs certainly are different. I think like the jobs at the hospital, those people, housing might be a factor. But I think we got a lot of people that just don't work today, but that's my own opinion. Thank you.
Well, and if you're an employable adult without any dependent children and you are receiving cash assistance, you are required to do a job search. And it's not easy to do all the paperwork. It's probably an hour in application, then an hour with us, and then there's a job search, there's a job readiness class, and it's a lot of work, and some people just say no thank you and walk away. Whether they find a job or not, we may never know. They don't report back to us, but it is not easy to get cash assistance. You do have to do a lot of paperwork. And
You think the same's true for disability?
the same is true with the paperwork for trying to get. Yeah, it's a lot of work to get Social Security disability. You really need the right person to help you with it. We use directions in independent living. And a lot of our people are really unemployable. There are a lot of medical issues here. A lot of people that apply for cash assistance we never see because their doctor says they're not able to work. And a number of those, and Edna would have the statistics, are due to mental health issues. So if they're in treatment and getting things done, they're participating in their own well-being. At the same time, they're not required to do a job search.
I just only ask because a friend of mine signed up for Social Security, and he actually went to the office, and he said that he was only a senior citizen there, sign up for regular disability. Everybody else was pretty young.
Yeah.
And he was told, well, they were all thought they were disabled, but so.
Soon to find out they're not, right?
Thank you, Rita.
All right, thank you.
All right. Next up is Kier Durham, Director of Planning. He also sent his monthly report. We all had a chance to look at it. Kier, anything you want to highlight
Many.
or add to?
Sure, many things. Got lots of things to talk about. We're in the final throes of the Amity Belmont Comprehensive Plan. doing the last edits. I'm going to be meeting with the town and village boards in April to start the process for approval. So that's been about a 13-month process so far. Also working on the town of Elman zoning code. That'll continue on. I expect that'll take until fall to finish that one. Did a little work with the town of Angelica, helping them create a water district. They're working on the engineering for that right now. We have a program that we're doing with Ardent Solutions regarding electric vehicle charging station. They had received some federal funding through the county. The county's actually the recipient of it. And we're trying to locate a location that can host that and get an installer and hopefully an actual owner that's not the county or a municipality, so that none of us are left to maintain these things in the future. Currently, there's only one charging station in the entire county. That's a higher speed one that's up in Houghton. If you look at the maps, our county is not a place currently you would like to be without enough electricity to charge your car. So we need to make some additional efforts on that front, since it appears that both New York State and many of the car manufacturers are heading in that direction at a pretty good rate. Some of them are saying they're going that way by 25. So.
Kier, I have a quick question before you get too far down in there. It's with the water district, you said, for the town or village of
Town of Angelica.
Angelica. Can a water district be only developed by a village?
Nope.
Or
So
not a town?
In this case, the village has the water system,
Oh, so
and they already have theirs set up, but there's some pipe that goes out into the town. It's provided by the village, but there's no maintenance currently set up because of the lack of an official town district. So theoretically, anytime you leave a village, the town surrounding it is supposed to have water districts for any of those pipes.
So it starts in a village first before it,
Well, you can also have a town that has water
okay,
service, like Friendship does,
okay.
because they don't have a village. But in cases like, we have 10 villages, so in most of those, they have their own water system. But if it crosses over the border, the town is supposed to actually have a water district. That way they can charge for the water, they can pay for maintaining the pipes, and they can bond it and things like that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Working with the town of Willing, we're in the beginning steps of their comprehensive plan. Gave them a lot of homework to work on, and they're going to come back to us probably in April with all that. Moving down to hazard mitigation, there's a new funding opportunity that came out. We learned about. It's got monies for planning, but it also has money for actual infrastructure projects. So we work to try to get the word out to our towns and villages that they may want to be considering that. So that kind of money is to do things you know that need to be done and not during a disaster. That's what hazard mitigation is all about. You're thinking into the future, you know you have a bad culvert, an undersized bridge, whatever it is, and you say, well, there's some money from FEMA, we're going to take care of this before the next one hits. So that's hazard mitigation in a nutshell. Moving down to business, the Wild Souls, Wild Places video campaign, we've been playing you the videos each month. I don't have the statistics like I normally do. The staff member is out this week that normally puts those together for me, but I'm not sure. Brenda, were you able to load that video? I sent you an email a couple hours ago, so if not, it's fine. I can always share it.
We can play it next time.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll send you all a link. It's right on YouTube. It's easy to see. this month, the video was sort of a summary and bringing together a lot of what we've been showing over the last 6 months on living here and having a life situation here. So I'll share that with you later. Tourism guides. We have the new guide. I put copies on everybody's desk. We took over this project at the back end of last year, and we worked with our consultant. If you look inside the cover, there's a little map, and the map pulls out, and underneath that are all the credits. So want to make sure you see those so that people understand that this is not just a little effort. This is a lot of effort. In the map that pulls out, there's two sides to it. You have, on one side, you have Explore, and it's things like parks, museums, galleries. And on the other side is the adventure side, where you have skiing, ATVing, camping, golf, outdoor recreation, basically. So this was a much smaller map than in previous years, and a lot less information is on it, but it's more graphically pleasing to the eye. And hopefully it gets people started, and then they work through it. And there's a lot of little subtle things that we put into this guide. We heard you say that you wanted Allegheny County to be shown somewhere on the guide. It's on the front. It's also a nice map right on the back that takes you right to it, so people get a sense of where they're going to be heading. And there's some other ones like that mixed throughout. Usually in the text, you'll see something about Allegheny County in there, but we're still pushing the Western New York Wilds brand overall. There's these QR codes throughout the guide, and what we've done is we've created different QR codes on different pages, so that if somebody, say, goes to the food section, it actually takes that QR code will take them to the food section of our county website. It doesn't just dump them onto the front end and then they have to waffle around in there. So each one is designated. This should also help us track how effective this guide is, which has always been a challenge. So we know we put out a lot of these guides. Do people use them? Has been the question for years. We're hoping that while not everybody is going to use a QR code, it'll at least give us a clue that this number, and it's some percentage, is doing that. So the other thing that's a big change is in the main part of the document, it is not an index. It highlights 3, 4, 5 things for the topic. So in the stay section, there's 4 or 5 places you can stay. The rest of the list is all in the back in the index, and it's sorted by the same categories as the rest of the guide. So the Go Wild outdoor stuff is all under Go Wild. The stay is all under stay, things like that. So there's a lot of little subtle things we worked on to get that to that point. So what are we doing with all these? We're currently sending them to distributors in the Buffalo market, the Rochester market, the main interstate rest area on I-81 outside of Syracuse, Chautauqua County, Cattaraugus County, western Pennsylvania along that corridor, down to Pittsburgh, northwest Pennsylvania, parts that are covered by the Allegheny National Forest. They have their own distribution system. The Chautauqua Allegheny region has taken some of them, and they're using them at some expos they've already attended. Unfortunately, due to physical limitation, I wasn't able to make those shows this year, but they covered us, and that's the good thing about being part of a region. You know, just because one person's down doesn't mean you're out. You're being covered. So they actually, we had to special ship them, but we got them to them in time for both those shows. Other areas we'll be doing is the New York State Capitol has requested a bunch. The colleges have already requested a lot, and we're doing direct requests. We have currently we're looking at the whole list for the last few years, and everybody that's been requesting, they're getting a new one. So they're currently stacked high and deep in the office. So we're doing a lot of distribution. Okay? And we're also working with the Fresh Air Adventures, which is Wyoming, Orleans, Livingston, and ourselves. Did I forget one? Wyoming, Orleans, Livingston, Genesee County. And we were putting together a brochure with them, another book, and they're doing more, and that all leads back to us too and gives us more requests. So a lot of stuff going on with tourism, and that's about it. Mr. Barnes is raising his hand.
Go ahead, Gary.
Yes, I haven't had a chance to look through the pamphlet, but the first thing I looked at was the front page, and I looked up and down and all around until I got down to the very bottom, and I found Allegheny County.
Yep. It's subtle, but it's there.
I guess it's subtle. I would think that we'd try to make it a little bit more pronounced to catch the eye of where the heck they're talking about. They open it up and they start looking at all this stuff. They still don't know where they
And
are.
we're also trying, both sides. So they'll find us.
Okay, if you say so.
Kier, I have a question for you. I'm going to follow up on our discussion with Rita here about the labor pool. You have a couple positions that you have open and you're doing a search. How's that search coming? Are you finding it difficult for a labor pool?
Slow. The planner position has been open for about 5 weeks and advertised, and I have maybe 1 or 2 applicants. When we did this for the planning development specialist 3 years ago, I had 20 applicants by this time. So it's definitely a different world today. And we're going to try some different things, but we put it on Indeed. We put it in the American Planning Association's thing across the whole country. We put it on the New York Planning Federation across, we're trying a lot of different things here. We're not just sticking with the county's standard work. So, and it's just really tough.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have any more questions for Kier? If not, thank you. Oh, Dwight?
Mr. Fanton.
I have a compliment for you, Chair. Kier, you really, you got a handle on it, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. I will note, we really need some more help in our office. I'm just going to say that. So I appreciate that you're being supportive, that you've approved the first 2. We've got another thing coming up at Ways and Means. We really need all this help. And next month, there are a number of things that I'm tentatively planning to bring in front of the group. I kind of want to warn you so that, because I don't bring a lot of MOEs to you. So if you get 2 or 3 or whatever, you're not surprised. And I'll try to get the information out well ahead of the meeting so that you're not looking at it, just the week before or whatever.
We appreciate that.
And Craig Clark notified me that he's at a conference, I believe it is, today. And so he couldn't make it to this meeting because it's we're a little out of sync here. So he was planning to be here on Wednesday, but we weren't here. So.
And he always makes it known that if any of us have any questions at any time about any of his activities, you can call him directly and he'll be glad to answer any of your questions. So, thank you.
I got a question here regarding that. What, you can refresh me, what's our out on our contract with Alfred State? Is it 60-day out or 90-day out? What is it?
I don't know off the top of my head. That certainly is something we can find and get back to you, Mike.
Okay, well, I see that back in February 24th there, I noticed an article that in the Olean Times Herald that the Cattaraugus County Legislature had approved an economic development strategic plan. And I was just wondering if we had anything like that coming down the pike here or from Alfred State that we hired to do our economic development, because I think they got to step up the game. If they don't step up the game, I think we probably ought to look for a different alternative to our economic development.
Okay, thank you.
I can look for the information that you're requesting about the contract and get back to you all on that.
Well, thank you, and thank you.
And I do believe, if I'm not correct, I don't know if it's ever come here, but there is a strategic plan that the Planning and Economic Development Department has worked on for economic development. It probably just needs to be brought and refreshed for this committee.
2012.
Got
said,
that
yeah.
long? Okay. So we certainly can ask for that to be brought forth for us.
Well, maybe we can have that. Maybe that can be one of the items at the our retreat that we're having. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other old business for this committee? Is there any new business? Is there anything for the good of the order? If not, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Make motion?
All right, Gretchen Hanchen makes a motion, and Phil Curran seconds it. All in favor for adjournment, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye.